I'm Ashley.
I'm Ashley. We do not have Sadie today. You guys lost me last week, and now I'm back, and now you guys lost Sadie this week. So, yeah.
Well, you have had a busy couple weeks because we are now into show competition season. So you are going to be busy. So, okay, where was the first show?
Sioux City.
Sioux City. Okay, tell us about that one.
It was a smaller show. We usually hold it in Des Moines every year, but this year we moved it to Sioux City.
I thought looking at the schedule, I was like, oh, this is different.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and it was actually really nice too. I actually really enjoyed the venue at Sioux City, and competitors actually showed up. I mean, they all looked flippin' awesome.
Well, I feel like that first show this season, it can go both ways. Either the competitors are really ready to go, or it's kind of their quote warm-up show. And so the quality of athletes sometimes can be questionable at those first
50-50.
Couple shows. Mm-hmm.
No, but it was a great venue though. Like a lot of the workers there, our venue host, whatever you want to call them, they actually help us like set up and tear down everything. And
that's unheard of.
Yeah, I know. Last year when I expedited, I don't recall anybody ever doing that for us. So that was actually really awesome. Yeah, they helped us tear down all the plastic and everything. I'm like, can we stay? Like,
we'll come here every year.
I know.
Was there anything that stood out from that show specifically that you want to touch on? Or was it pretty... Because we're going to get into like competition show day information for competitors, but... from that show specifically, is there anything that you're like, oh my gosh, I have got to remind?
Say something? Yeah. No, not specifically that one. I mean, it was a small enough show to where people weren't running around frantic. Which is good. Especially for Brittany and I. So Brittany's our other expediter that I work really well with. She's like my backstage buddy. And she was the head expediter, so she's on stage, and I'm the backstage expediter. I like being backstage because I like to hype up the competitors, dance around with them. And stuff
I
like
can
that.
imagine that. So. I mean, she was hyping me up this morning in the weight room.
I think that was the other way around. I think I needed the hype. Oh gosh, I only hyped you up for like 2 seconds.
2 seconds, 2 seconds, and then she's like.
But yeah, nothing that stuck out in my mind.
So do you think they will keep that Sioux City location for next year?
I honestly hope so. Okay. I really do. I hope so. I really liked it.
Well, I feel like that also targets a different... I know that we have Omaha and Sioux Falls, but Sioux City kind of gets in between there, more into western Iowa. So.
I actually really enjoyed it. And we can also pull from Des Moines as well.
Right.
Which isn't too far. I mean, I think it's an extra hour away from us or something like that.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah.
Because where we're sitting, we're kind of in this triangle of we could go to Sioux City, Omaha, and Des Moines with pretty much about the same distance.
Even Sioux Falls, too.
Right, right. So, okay, and then you guys just got back from St. Louis, which is the big dog of the season.
Ooh.
So tell us about that one.
Long days.
Long day.
Long days.
Lots of competitors?
Lots. I think Jack said we had like 400 competitors across the stage.
Wow.
Something like that.
Okay, the fit model division, since that is brand new this year, I always kind of wonder because bikini was always such a large division. Well, now if you do fit model, you cannot cross into bikini. So do you see the numbers of bikini? Have they gone down and fit model has gone up? Or what was your observations with that new division?
It's honestly hard to tell being so early in the season. I honestly don't even remember how many fit models total we had. I want to say at least 10, if not like 10 to 15, I think.
Yeah, that's a pretty good number.
Yeah,
like starting out.
It's not bad. I'm assuming a lot of them were first-timers who would probably have competed in bikini if fit model didn't come out.
That was my...
And a lot of them that I saw were not up to bikini just yet, like physique-wise.
Right.
So I think introducing... I was honestly kind of against it at first just because it's not really bodybuilding to me.
Right.
A lot of it is just like super light lifting, a lot of cardio. But I mean, the ones that showed up to St. Louis... They were fit model. I mean, there were some who I would not consider fit model, who probably should bump up to bikini.
Right, where they're just a little bit too much for that division.
So, ladies, keep this in mind. When you're competing and wanting to compete in fit model, and you show any ab...
separation.
Yes, ab separation, glute hamstring tie-ins, hardness, even like a lot of vascularity, it's not fit model.
Right.
You should probably move up to bikini, even cap shoulders. They don't want cap shoulders.
Right.
So talk to your coach.
Even bikini, they've specified again this year that they don't want the hamstring glute tie-ins for bikini even.
Really?
They want it to be softened. So that came out when they brought the fit model, and they were kind of going back, Sandy and Tyler, like they had, just gone through specifics again. And that was one of the criteria that they wanted to bring back to bikini was they want softness. I mean, not softness like fluffiness,
right?
But they don't want that harsh line between the glutes and the hamstrings.
Now, would you say it would be like a little bit of
like you still want to see that separation,
fullness of the glutes,
right? Because that's going to show the leanness,
just not as hard as,
but
like
not hard
wellness.
as what they've where you see like that teardrop.
Yeah,
that's too much. Yes, like in wellness, definitely still the separation.
Yes. And I think the criteria needs to be changed a little bit. I mean, me being a figure competitor, I look at myself as like a pro. If I've said this before. If I want to be a pro, I got to train like a pro. I got to think like a pro. I got to eat like a pro. I got
always said that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I look at some of these pros, and even like I look at Olympians. I will never get to that point. I know what it takes to get to that point, and I honestly do not have it in me to be an Olympian. But I look at these Olympians, I'm like,
huge.
The hell?
I know. It's
I know like photos and stuff, they appear bigger, but I mean even in person, like they have feathered quads, their separations are just insane, huge, massive shoulders. Right. I'm like,
but
okay, I'm never gonna be on that stage.
Majority of those athletes, they're on gear.
Right.
We know they're on gear. Anybody who says they're not, they're lying. I'm not saying 100% of those athletes, but when you're getting into figure wellness, I would say 80% of your bikini athletes are on gear. So what I do appreciate about the fit model division is they've made it clear that they want it to be attainable by athletes. And so there's
which was
really
supposed to be bikini at first.
Yes. So there's no reason for individuals to be on gear doing fit model. And when I did a couple consults, and I have a couple fit model athletes myself, they've asked me, well, should I start something? I'm like, no, you're not starting anything. This is an attainable look.
Yes. To do completely naturally.
Yes. And if you are starting from ground zero and have zero muscle mass, it's going to take you a little longer. But let's stop. Yeah. So
be thankful that you can do that naturally.
Right, with what your body gives you. And,
yes.
So I'm not opposed to using, for athletes, choosing to use anabolics or STARMs or even peptides. I mean, the science behind peptides is just mind-blowing. And, but anyway, yeah, so what I'm circling back to is, it does to be pro in those bigger divisions. You're really doing a number to your body.
Yeah, and you really are. Especially all the stacking that
yes.
some of these pros and Olympians do. I mean, granted, it's your body. I'm not judging at all. I'm the last person to judge, but I refuse to put my body through that. So I know I don't have what it takes to be an Olympian.
Yeah, but you can totally go pro. I believe that's that 100%.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm shooting for it next year. So, I mean, we'll see what happens next year. I don't expect anything, just like going into my first national show last year. My goal was to get first call-outs, and I got first call-outs. That was all I wanted. I knew I wasn't going to be pro, especially walking backstage with those women. I'm like, whew, cool.
Wowza.
Yeah, because those girls along the coast, holy shit.
They're built different. And then also,
yeah.
Genetically, we know that bodies are built differently anyway. And here in Midwest, small town, rural Iowa, our demographic of athletes, I mean, are majority Caucasian. Mm-hmm. And when you travel to some of those other regions of the United States, you know, and you hit other ethnic groups, their bodies are built different. And, you know, I'll give the example of Brazilians. Is that the right term?
I think so.
I mean, their lower body, they are crap. Just built different, hips down. And, you know, so you see some of those when you're traveling. Mm-hmm. And when you go to those national shows.
Brazilian?
Yes.
And oh my.
I mean, your top wellness pro athletes right now, they're all Brazilian, to my knowledge. I don't follow them as closely.
I don't either.
But, yeah. So, okay. Well, let's see. Let's get into just competition in general, because you and I both have questions. When I have clients, you know, they've asked, like, when should I do this? When should I do this? How far out? So we are going to get into some of those specifics. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so like let's say you're going to compete, or you have a client that comes to you to compete. What are some of the, like, first of all, like, how far out would you recommend someone kind of starting that process? Let's say you've got someone and they're like, I want to compete. What do you tell them? Because, you know, some will want to make it a bucket list and I want to compete in 12 weeks, which I don't recommend, but yeah, so where do you start?
That one's going to be iffy. It's going to depend on how your body composition is mm-hmm. at that time, you know. I mean, sometimes a person is way overweight, so you got to start early. Some people stay shredded year round, so maybe they don't have to start mm-hmm. as early.
Well, and I think the division, too.
Oh, well, yeah.
Because
that one's going to be a tough one.
Right.
You know, you got to look at it just like that. What division do you want to do? Mm-hmm. Bikini? Okay, we don't have to start as early.
Right.
Women's physique?
Need as much
okay,
muscle
we
mass.
need to start now.
Right.
You know, it's gonna depend on the person in the division and how they look mm-hmm. right then and there.
Well, and I think athletes need to realize that this is bodybuilding. It's not a weight loss challenge.
Yeah.
And so,
although I did find out that there was a show like overseas or something that they did have a weight loss division.
So I'll circle back to that. But yeah, like bodybuilding. Mm-hmm. And so if they don't have much for muscle, it doesn't, you know, we've got to build first, and that takes time.
Yeah.
And depending on the division will determine how much time you need to build.
Yeah.
And where they're currently at, I think, with their macros and their intake, if they're eating like a bird, you know, they're not going to build. They're not going to build. You know, you need to fuel to build.
Yeah.
And you know, that's going to involve probably putting on some body weight.
Yep.
Which then you need to shred off later.
Yeah, that's always the fun part.
Okay, so that's been determined. You can look at show dates, kind of goals in mind mm-hmm. within the time frame.
Yeah, and that would be like step one. Like, what show are you looking to do? Mm-hmm. And then go from there. That's going to be...
Because that becomes your timeline.
Yeah, exactly. Just don't make it too close to that showtime when you decide to
and especially if it's your very first time. Yeah. Like, do you remember the first time you put on a pair of like clear heels and tried to walk? I mean, it's like you're a baby deer.
I mean, I was fine. I took modeling classes way back in the day, so I'm like a pro in heels, believe it or not.
Wow, I would not have guessed that.
I know.
Okay, well, I was like a baby deer, and first of all, I remember I could not get my foot in those clear heels. So just like kind of a public service announcement, when you buy your heels, depending where you buy them from, I like Shoe Fairy, I like Angel Competition,
I go through Salela.
Mm-hmm. Have you found, so with those two companies, I found that the shoe size correlates to their heel size. So if I'm a size 9 in shoes, both of those companies, I'm a solid 9. When you get your heels, though, I have found, and competitors too, you feel like they're not going to fit you. And you may be convinced that, like, they're not going to go on. So I remember having to take a blow dryer to my shoes when they were brand new, getting the plastic heated, and then shoving my foot in. Oh, we got a guest.
Sorry, my cat.
Well, and I think getting your heels, I tell competitors, get your heels like almost immediately. Even if you're not going to, right, even if you're not going to compete for months.
And a huge controversy with heels, take your fucking socks off.
Yes. Doesn't that drive you crazy? So people
I have done it.
I was guilty too, but when I thought of the logistics, so you're not going to be on stage with your socks.
No.
Furthermore, the grip that your toes, the bottom of your feet to the shoe, you get used to that and it becomes stability. And then the last thing is the more you wear your socks, the more it's going to stretch out your shoes. And then you slip further down.
And then you look weird because your big papa toe is hanging off of your fucking heels.
You know what I did have to do for that, and kind of a hack, on Amazon, and I think some of the companies carry them, but like a shoe pillow for under your toes, because it kind of created a barrier for your feet to slip further or forward. That was helpful. So I had different sizes of those to just keep my toes from wanting to come out the end.
Yeah.
And they just stick in there, and then when they would get worn out, I just peel them off and replace them. I mean, they're like a couple bucks on Amazon.
Yeah,
so.
Just to keep from sliding.
Yeah. So, okay, we got shoes. Get your shoes right away. Don't wear your socks. Get comfortable with walking. Your coaches can help you through that with posing and walking and all that. Start posing right away.
Yeah.
Or at least get your mandatories down.
Mandatories are going to be a big thing.
Well, because then you're doing the mandatory correctly for when you're doing chickens with your coach.
Yeah.
And you're instilling, those good habits.
Oh, another thing with posing that I have noticed. So if you are fitness, figure, women's physique, women's bodybuilding, even classic and men's bodybuilding, when you are doing your side pose, don't look at the judges. Look straight ahead.
Oh, that'd be awkward.
I see it all the time.
Yeah.
Like in your quarter turns,
your quarter turns,
yeah. So quarter turn. Do not look at the judges. You want to look straight ahead.
Okay, good tip.
I don't know why that popped in.
So I just visualize someone looking to the side in their side post or looking to the judges. That'd be awkward to watch.
It happens all the time. Like, what are you doing? You always look straight ahead. No matter what, wherever you're facing, you're looking.
You're looking. I think it's another for competitors to realize the expenses of competing. Like, I remember when I started, I did not even realize
how much it costs to compete in just one show.
Yes, and if I would have known that, I would have spaced out or saved in increments. No, granted, with each consecutive show, you're not going to need the same, like, you don't need a suit for every show. You don't need different heels, the jewelry, if you use extensions or anything like that for your hair, you can recycle those.
But your very first show, we're going to talk first show, like, so many expenses going on here.
Okay, the obvious one, the suit. So what can you say about your suit?
Well, the suit that I currently have right now, let's see, I'm kind of cheap. So I go through Salela for all of my competition stuff. And the suit that I have is a figure, women's physique, women's bodybuilding, fitness, whatever you want to call it, suit, and I think it cost me about $200. And I know some people who have spent $800, $900, $1,000 for like a oh my gosh,
like just the suit or the bling
like
suit?
they like design
like
their
custom
own custom. Jesus, I had a really bad leg day this morning, guys. So I'm kind of not all the way there this morning.
She got a little pale and thought there was going to be some vomiting.
A couple times. Ears were ringing. Yeah, it was great.
I would say the suit, depending where you get it, just plan to spend a couple $100 on it.
Yeah. Women's stuff is always so much more expensive than guys' stuff.
I was sponsored by Angel Competition, and I will tell you that was so nice because when I got to that point, you could have a different suit for every show. and you didn't pay anything for it.
Mm-hmm.
So that was nice. But prior to that, I had used Toxic Angel. I like their suits, but they were more expensive. So I think for a competitor, couple options for suits. You could get something cheaper. Like if you don't know if you're going to continue, maybe get something cheaper. Look into rentals. I had a teammate that her entire business is purely rental suits. So she purchases suits from different companies and then she rents them to athletes. And, rental is anywhere from $100 to $200 to $300. And she'll put timelines on how long you can have them. So maybe you have 2 or 3 different shows back to back that you could use that same suit.
Yeah, you don't have to get a different suit for every show.
Amy Spatzer, that is her name. I know for sure she had bikini wellness. I imagine she's dabbled into fit model. I don't know how much she has for figure. But if you do your research, there are rental companies out there. Some of your bigger suit companies will also offer rentals.
That's nice too.
Yeah, but as you get more into competing and if you get more serious with it or you turn pro, you definitely have to invest the money into suits because that becomes part of what you are judged on.
Yes.
Whether we like it or not, whether we say this is bodybuilding, not a fashion show, it is. You will be judged on your suit.
Bikini and wellness and now fit model.
Probably fit model.
It's a show.
Fit model really suits, they're not blinged.
No,
they are not blinged. I do like the simplicity.
And they're pretty simple, I suppose.
They are very simple. Mm-hmm.
They don't want the flamboyancy, I guess. I didn't see any like hair flips or anything, which I'm totally against. Guys. I'm not gonna lie. I can't do the hair flips or the shoulder shrugs or
Well, the bottom coverage of fit model is significantly greater than your bikini and
50-50.
Yeah. Yep. It has to cover half the glute.
It does, and that's another thing. So I've seen
a little bit more modest.
I've seen videos of fit models getting DQ'd because of their suits. Now, go and check out the rules and regulations on NPC Online. They will have the rules and regulations. Fit model, no bling. They say that you can literally go to Target and buy a swimsuit and use it, and it would qualify. Bottoms have to be 50-50, no bling, no flamboyancy. You're posing front, back, front. That is it. No extra stuff. They want it as simple as can be. So just make sure you guys check out the rules and regulations. It doesn't even have to be just fit model. It's all divisions.
And go to a show too. I wish I would have attended a few shows. I think that would have removed some of the anxiety about my first show.
Absolutely.
But then you kind of have an idea of what's expected or the layout of the stage, especially if you could go to a show of the group that you're going to be doing your show.
Mm-hmm.
Because then you really get an idea. And you can kind of see what other competitors are doing, what looked good, what didn't look good.
Right.
So, okay, other expenses. What you got?
Well, we covered suit and shoes.
Jewelry. I know you don't really wear jewelry, do you?
I never wear jewelry.
So I would say...
I'm not a jewelry person. I think for figure, it really doesn't matter.
I would agree.
To be honest, like figure fitness, women's bodybuilding, women's physique, I feel like it doesn't matter. And I honestly don't think jewelry matters, period. I think
it's like
it just,
the detail. It's like the bells and whistles.
Yeah.
I would say definitely bikini, wellness, and probably fit model.
Yeah.
You're going to want at least earrings, maybe a bracelet. Does not have to be overly done. The jewelry reminds me of the prom jewelry that you get at Claire's. You know what I'm talking about.
The thick.
It's the
chunky.
chunky.
Yeah.
So, you want it to look good, but also keep in mind, I don't feel like it makes that big of a difference.
I don't think so either.
No necklaces. I think that would be weird.
Yep,
I've never seen a competitor wear a necklace.
Unless if it is like a significant thing. Kind of like a wedding ring. Like if it's like super significant and meaningful.
That's a good point.
I mean, I don't think they really care. I know being an expediter, I talk to some judges and they don't really care for necklaces. They're not going to look at that. But I mean, if you're If you have 5 different lengths of necklaces, don't do that. Yeah. That is going to be very distracting. But if you have one that's significant, like if you lost a loved one, like your husband or something, and you wear his ring as a necklace, wear it. Right. Don't take it off. Yeah. It's one necklace. It's fine. You're not going to get docked for it or anything. Right.
But otherwise, I mean, I would say general rule is no necklace. Yeah. Or no anklets. No. I would say if you're going to do jewelry, stick to earrings
bracelets
and your
earrings.
Bracelets. Yeah. And you can go both wrists if you want for bracelets. Oh, you can do rings. I do see big blingy rings.
Oh, yeah. I don't like
that. Wasn't my thing, but I do
just
see
it.
Wedding ring. Mm-hmm. Same. Okay, tanning. Well, let's back up since we're kind of because tanning will be like a more in depth.
That's my favorite part.
I know it is. So hair and makeup kind of goes with that whole jewelry, the suit.
If you want to pay for it and have somebody else do it.
Right.
For you.
I think at regional levels, if you are comfortable doing your own hair and makeup, I think that's fine. You're going to save some money. If you're not comfortable with it, usually the venue will have links to who they're using for hair and makeup, or in the area itself, if you can do your own research, and there are plenty of people that offer private hair and makeup. Some will even come to your hotel rooms. Depends where you are geographically. Yeah. But you are going to pay, and it's pretty expensive. When you get to the pro level, unless you are like a hair and makeup magician, I think most pros probably do get their hair and makeup done, at least in bikini, because that's what I'm most familiar with.
I'm sure a lot of them do, honestly.
Well, and a lot of them at that point get sponsored, or it's good marketing for that makeup artist. I think you could get away with hair on your own because it's pretty much either straight curled, and you're putting, if you're using extensions. Yeah. With that being said, if you are going to use extensions, clip-ins, a halo, whatever, you've got to make sure it's quality. I have seen so many athletes when they turn to the back and you see such a harsh cutoff between what is obviously their real hair and then their extensions. And it doesn't look good. It just, at that point, you're better off just not wear the extensions.
Yeah. Even clip-ins too. Like if you have super thin hair, have somebody look
and color it.
Yeah, a lot of times you're gonna see the tracks
and blend it.
I was at that point once as well, and you could see my tracks, and I look back at that, I'm like, I wish somebody told me they could see them.
And when you get further into competing too, I mean, there's even hair hacks that you can do. In your back pose with figure wellness bikini, you can have your hair cut so that it is tapered. So it's cut a little shorter on the outsides and then have it tapered to the center, because it'll give the illusion of a wider back, and it will showcase your shoulders. Or if your hair's super thick, it can sometimes cover your shoulders. But honest, my gosh, get my words out. When you are at your back pose, especially for bikini wellness fit model, your back is kind of arched. And so if your hair or your extensions are too long, you do not want them sweeping the top of your glutes. So in your back pose, take pictures, and prior to the show, if your hair is at all touching the top of your glutes, you need to cut that. And that has been something that's been commonly done. So lots of things you can do with your hair. But hair and makeup, you do have to plan ahead. So when you've got a show in mind, when it gets to be that 8-12 week mark, make yourself a checklist. And that would be one of the things that you want to make sure that you have a handle on, whether it's getting the supplies and practicing yourself, or scheduling your appointment with someone that does hair and makeup. But it adds up. And ballpark range, you're easily going to spend about $150. And that's for a regional show hair and makeup. I would say when you get to pro, you're going to those makeup artists, it can be close to $300, because they typically will charge $150 for hair, $150 for
and
makeup.
They're really good too.
Oh,
like
stunning.
The ones that we use.
Oh my gosh.
So Liquid Sunrays is our tanning hair and makeup people, and they do such an incredible job. I've never seen one bad makeup look on anybody. Mm-hmm. They're awesome. I recommend them.
Well, and keep in mind, your competition makeup, your stage makeup is going to be much different. So even if you're like, yeah, I can do my own makeup, I go out all the time and I'm great at makeup, you've got to do your research, YouTube tutorials on how stage makeup is different than just your everyday or going out makeup. And keep in mind that you are going to be tanned, and you typically don't have your face tanned.
I do a one pass.
One pass, and some do. Yep. But then your makeup has to also blend with your super tan body.
Yep. So I always buy like the darkest foundation I can get, and then I contour everything and whatnot.
Is it working?
We're gonna find out. Oh yeah, we're good.
Okay, so without Tech Sadie here, we had to figure out the tech on our own. And,
yeah, it's fun.
But we
got it. Hopefully this is working fine. I mean, it says it's going, but I guess we're gonna find out.
Let's see. Couple other before we get into tanning. You want to determine your hotel.
Yep.
The fees for competing, because you have to pay a fee for each division.
Your NPC registration card,
I forgot about that.
Card. Mm-hmm. You got to register for your classes. So, like me, for example, I'm in figure and women's physique, so I'm in 2 different divisions, and I only do open divisions. So I got to register for 2 divisions, and that's double the money. So if you're in extra classes, so you got like your true novice, all your master's classes, open classes. There was one girl at the St. Louis show who was in like 7 or 8 different classes.
Oh my gosh.
That's over $800, guys. Like, she spent money to be on that stage, which kudos to her, but...
And the way she probably did that is because she was probably a first time. So you can do true novice. She was probably multiple divisions.
She brought home 2 trophies. Mm-hmm. Both of them for...
Good for her.
Yeah, figure... No, women's physique and women's bodybuilding. Yeah, she brought home both trophies.
Now, how far out do you think a person should register?
For me, like, as soon as I have a show in mind, I register immediately.
Okay. Because then it's, like, done.
Yep.
Over. You don't have to worry about it.
Yes, and make sure you not procrastinating. That's the biggest thing, is people procrastinate. So if you register immediately, you're locked in.
Yep. Well, yeah, I like that you're locked in too, because it's like you've paid for this. It's a done deal. Like, there's no going back. Mm-hmm. You do have to figure out travel expenses. So is it somewhere you're going to drive? Do you have to fly? Your hotel expenses. Mm-hmm. Luckily, you don't have a lot of food expenses, because I would assume most competitors are bringing their own. But and we can talk about how to travel with food. But let's circle back to tanning, because I think competitors. I know me personally, I did not realize what tanning meant. Like, I knew it was going to happen, but I thought, well, that's no big deal. I've gotten a spray tan before. It wasn't bad. So. Okay, explain the process. If a competitor is choosing to get their spray tan through the company, because you can do it yourself, and we can get into that here in a moment. But
which I don't recommend. But
getting sprayed through the company.
Well,
see, and I'm kind of backwards, because I'm totally a DIY. But we can talk about like the pros and cons.
Yes.
Okay, so for the company, you have to schedule.
Yes. So I can only talk on NPC Midwest on how we run things. So, and I'm sure this is nationwide. So you have to schedule, obviously, pay for it, and then when you go to get your tan, you go back to the tanning room, which there are multiple tents with multiple people on the women's side who are buck-ass naked. So you're seeing all kinds of boobies and lady bits.
And you're all just standing there in a really cold area.
Yep. And how did you describe it, Ash?
I mean,
a herd of like cattle or something.
Yeah, I felt like a herd, or it was weird. I remember that was one thing that I not traumatized, because that's probably a little dramatic, but for me, I was so uncomfortable that first time. I had zero, and then the tents are in this circle. You could have the openings to the wall in the circle, but no, all the openings were in the center.
Yep.
So as you're rotating, and you have to do all these different positions so they can get all the nooks and crannies, Yeah, it was just odd, and it was cold, and you had these shower caps on. Say,
I never wear shit. My
hair.
hair's
Did I ever tell
enough.
you the mittens? The mittens story? Oh my gosh. I'm so glad I haven't told you. Okay, so one of the shows I went to, so Nelson's right. Like, you have your base coat. So usually the evening before, you have your base coat.
Yes, evening before.
I would say most shows,
and then
even
touched
pro
up throughout
shows.
The day of the show.
Yeah. So base coat the night before, and then early the next morning, you're getting your top coat. And then if you need touched up prior to finals, is how I've seen it ran. So anyway, one of the shows, I don't think I was pro yet. But anyway, there's a line, and it was through Pro-Tan, and they had this table set up, and that's where you picked up your shower cap. They had nail covers so that you didn't get it on your nails, and they had these mittens. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is genius. Like, I can put these mittens on because then, your nails. So I grabbed myself a shower cap. I grabbed myself, they had kind of like when you get a pedicure, those like little flip-flops.
Yeah.
They had those, but they were just sticky on the bottom, so they only stuck to the bottom of your feet because obviously if they're on the top, you're going to have lines. Yeah. So I thought, this is great. This is such an upgrade. I get my mittens, and so I have my mittens on, and I have my shower cap on, and I'm in the booth, and you're already vulnerable because you're already cold, and you're already really nude. And the girl comes over, and she looks at me, and she just starts busting out laughing. So, of course, now I'm vulnerable, and I'm like...
buck-ass naked,
I'm like, why is she laughing at me? And
Do I not look good?
She goes, oh, honey, you're so cute. I'm like, what? And she goes, those aren't mittens.
Oh,
right,
no.
Right.
I know where you're going with this.
They were for the male competitors. And so that night at finals, when she saw me, she's like, hey, mittens. So that was so anyway, I mean, honestly, I thought it was genius to have mittens, but you know what?
You would have white hands.
Well, I know, but my thought was like, if you
gosh.
have white hands, then at the end, I don't know, I thought maybe they would take their sponge and do it. Because when you do self-tanning, that's what you do. You kind of sponge your hands. It looks natural. But yeah, so that was, yeah.
So you put penis mittens on.
Penis mittens. I did. I put the penis mittens on. She was so funny, though. She was.
I mean... Yeah, I did just bust out laughing, but I probably would have laughed at you at the moment, too.
Well, so right before you go out on stage, too, something to say, you're all tanned. We'll get into a couple other tanning things, but they're also going to glaze you, and that just means they kind of oil you up, give you a shine. Mm-hmm. Some women, and I don't know, maybe some men, use Bikini Bite, which is like a sticky substance so that it keeps your suit in place.
Figure Bite, yep.
So
that's what I use because I have, like... The bling kind of on.
Yes,
so
and
that's always good. Like if you are a figure fitness, women's physique, women's bodybuilding,
bikini.
Yeah, bikini. Well, I guess you can cut it in half. Do you?
Yeah. So really, all it is it's almost like you're gluing your suit to your body, so that it doesn't move.
Oh, you're talking the actual like glue. Okay, so
yes.
Mine, I'm talking. It's like a double-sided, like super sticky tape.
Oh, the tape. Yep.
So that's what I would recommend. Like if you have, like on the bottoms of your suit, like the bling on the side where it swoops over your hip bones, I recommend using that stuff, especially for figure because figure we have it riding up so high on the hip. That tape really helps.
Yes.
And like I said, I get my stuff from Salela, so you can buy. It's called Figure Bite.
That's funny. Bikini Bite, Figure Bite. That's good marketing.
I have Bikini Bite too for like the bottoms and stuff, but I just get mine done through the company anymore.
Well, in full transparency, I used the Bikini Bite. It was like a roll-on sticky. I only used it a handful of times because what I didn't like about it is, I mean, it would lift the tan off. So when you took the suit off, now you have a residue on your suit, and now you have like areas that the tan is completely removed from. So when you go back for finals, you have to really make sure that your suit is in the exact same spot, or you're going to now have this weird...
my suit doesn't come off until I'm done.
See, I always took mine off, but Yeah, so you have
I feel like the turnaround
glaze.
for me is a lot quicker though, because I'm figure, so I'm first out, first out.
Yeah, I mean, I can remember like huge gaps of time, between shows where
Oh, I suppose.
because we would have like a morning show, like pro shows, but then like we wouldn't come back to like 7 at night, and
Ew.
you may not be on stage till 8, 9 o'clock at night.
Oh, I suppose.
Um,
Yeah, I never take mine off. I just leave mine on.
so what are some like with your tanning hacks? Like after I would get my tan, I always had a certain outfit that I would put on, cotton, dark. Um, I always brought cups with me because if you just use the bathroom like normal, the splatters will cause discoloration. So I always used like a cup, like a styrofoam cup.
That. I suppose put the cup. Okay, so this is gonna sound weird. Like put the cup right on your
like under
lady bits, pee and dump it.
Yep, that's what I did.
One. Yeah, that's good. Oh, and if you sit down, put
Don't.
toilet paper on the toilet seat.
It will stain.
I mean,
or just hover.
Yeah, that would be even harder, because then you gotta like spread the lips and pee. No, I mean seriously though, like if you don't want pee running down your leg,
there is a device, and I got it. It was off of Amazon. I can't even remember what it's called. The WeGo or something, and
girl. It's like a funnel.
It is like a funnel. So I tried it and it was a disaster. For me, just the styrofoam cup just always worked better. Especially in hotel rooms, you always have those cups in there.
Gosh, that's
and then
smart.
Once I dumped it, I would rinse it, or you don't have to. And then I put it on the back of the toilet, and then it was just there. Now for competition,
and if you're sharing a room, preferably label it pee cup.
Yeah, that would be nice. And then once I got down to the venue or backstage, I brought my own styrofoam cup, so that was like part of my travel. And then
that's smart.
Yeah, and then you just go to the bathroom with your cup and then toss that one, obviously.
Oh, you want a drink out of it?
Well, okay. That way, bring a couple. But I think that was helpful, and then I was never worried about the splatters.
Yeah, because somebody trying to touch up right up in there, it could be a little awkward. I had to do that over the weekend. I had to help glue and glaze. Yeah. Or not glaze. I had to help glue and touch up because we were so behind. Like, I'll help.
Yeah, it's fun. So, so get into the DIY. I chose to do my own tan. Probably my second pro show. Part of it, in transparency, was the stress of trying to plan your tanning appointment with your hair and makeup appointment, because there were times I was getting my hair and makeup done at 4 a.m. for pro shows. And I always wanted my tan done before my hair and makeup. Mm-hmm. And so it just was getting stressful to coordinate the times. And so I practiced, and I got to the point, and I used Pro Tan, but I got to the point where I could do my base coat, usually Thursday night prior to the show. That was super light. It just, there's lots of different methods. We don't have to go into all the details because there's a lot. And then I would do another coat on Friday evening, and then I would do one more darker coat Saturday morning.
So I'm going to ask you this. You said you DIY'd with Pro Tan, right?
Yes.
Did Pro tan at these shows?
Yes, because I also realize most pro shows, and almost every regional show I ever did, minus the Midwest, was always Pro Tan. Because one of the things is you want your tan to match the other competitors. So if everybody else is using like liquid sun rays, and now you show up with Pro Tan, you're going to look odd. But I would say majority of pro shows are Pro Tan. So for me, the Pro Tan DIY was okay.
Yeah, I mean, that would be okay.
Mm-hmm.
My biggest thing about tanning, especially at like these NPC shows, we use liquid sun rays. You can only use liquid sun rays. So if you have if you're spraying your own stuff backstage, we will tell you to get rid of it, because liquid sun rays is the only ones that are insured to tan backstage. So if your coach is glazing you, tanning you with any other company, they bring their own tan bottle, you are not allowed. You will be asked to toss it. If you are pasty white and they start tanning you that morning before the show with a different company's spray bottle, it looks like a hairspray can. you will not be tan.
Can you imagine? I can't imagine someone just showing up though and doing that. I'm sure you've seen it.
Yep, happened over the weekend.
Gosh, that's crazy to me. But like I said, majority of shows outside of Iowa, I would say like 80 to 90% have been pro tan. So I've never been worried about the DIY stuff.
Yeah.
You can also buy like liter bottles. So if you know that you're going to be tanning over and over, it becomes really cheap. And it sounds like it would be tough to do to completely just tan yourself without the spray method. But I mean, I got really good at it. And then it became like a nice bonus just to have at home, if you wanted a tanned look for a different event. Because it's the layers of the tanning that's going to give you that darkness. So just putting on, you could use Pro Tan or really any self tanner and have like a natural look. It's just the layers that you're putting on.
Yeah, just
getting your back. Yeah. So that would be good research. Find out what is the tanning company, whether you're in the Midwest or whether you're out east or west. Like find your tanning company that the venue's using, and that might help guide your decision.
Yeah.
But definitely, if you are not practiced or you're not comfortable doing DIY, just pay for it, and then it's done. Like I said, for me, it was just a schedule conflict. A financial conflict. So, all right, what else we got? We talked about the hotels, the drive, the glue, the glaze.
Somebody asked when to get shoes on when you're backstage. So this is the day of the show, like your heels and stuff. I would recommend, so as an expediter, when we call, like figure's always the first one up. When we say figure, get glued and glazed, get your shoes on. Do not take your shoes off. Leave your shoes on until you walk off the stage. Otherwise, as soon as we call you to get glued and glazed, you get your shoes on right away.
Yeah, because then it's go time.
Yeah.
That made me think of a question. Sometimes I get asked by competitors, should they get the mules, so just like the slip-ons, or should they get the shoes with the straps on?
I prefer straps, honestly.
I do too. I feel more secure.
Yeah.
I do see...
Because it reminds me of like flip-flops. It hits the back of your heel and it drives me nuts.
Yeah. But I mean, I see pros in all divisions that wear the mules. And they like it, obviously. Now, I had a pair of mules for posing pictures, just to slip on really quick for check-in pictures. Yeah. But if I was going to be doing any type of posing, I always had what I'm going to perform in. Yep. But... yeah. I mean, so with getting shoes on, if you had slip-ons, that's a lot different than the straps.
If you have slip-ons, you don't have to put those on until like right before you walk on stage. Yeah,
you can carry them around if you want to, but...
yeah, but if you have the straps, get them on, because the tanner, like the touch-up tanners, whoever you're going through, whoever is at the show, will tell you to put those on before they touch you up and get glued and glazed and all that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's personal preference. Ashley and I obviously like the straps better.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I'm right there with her. I feel more secure.
Yeah, and they're just not going anywhere, especially when you get sweaty and your feet get sweaty and they're slipping.
Yeah.
The other thing with shoes that we didn't mention earlier is they've made it pretty clear that your shoes should be plain. So you're going to see shoes, especially when you're online, the blinged out ones, and they're beautiful and they're so pretty. Hooker heels, yeah. But keep in mind your judges are at about foot level on stage. So if you have all this bling, the way it's bouncing off the light, it can become distracting. So it may be tempting to get those really pretty blinged out heels. The judges don't care about your heels unless they're becoming distracting. So,
and to be honest, I have some blinged out heels, but I refuse to pay for another pair because there's another expense.
Right.
And they're not like super blinged out. It's called like the waterfall. I mean, there's a little bit. And another thing that I've noticed with having a little bit of blinged out heels, the rhinestones fall off.
Oh,
if they fall off on stage, and you may step on them or somebody else steps on them, you end up tripping. Yeah. Guess who's gonna look like an idiot?
That'd be unfortunate.
Yeah. So I'm cheap. I don't want to buy another pair of shoes, so I might have a little bit of bling on them.
Now my strap broke one time.
I've had to help somebody with that.
So I would have two heels. I had my practice heels and I had my competition heels. Same exact heel, but I would use the practice one so much that the strap ended up busting. And on Amazon, they have a strap that goes under the foot and up and around. Mm-hmm. And so I think it was a couple bucks.
Yeah.
So that saved me from that. Mm-hmm. So, all right, what are some other questions that we got?
Looks like lining up for stage. So, I mean, again, we're going to call you by division. If you're in St. Louis competing, we'll call you by the division first, then the class. So, true novice is always the first. And if it's such a huge class, we'll call for we'll take bikini for example. Bikini is always huge. So we'll call bikini, true novice A and B because there's only 2 true novice classes to get lined up and get glued and glazed because we need you guys first. So we're going to get you guys glued and glazed first as opposed to bikini open, which is the last class. So we want true novice in first. So we're going to call you guys first. So just make sure you guys pay attention.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're looking at the, when you get to the backstage, typically they have it posted what the order of events is.
Always check that.
So check that, but then
check that even before you get started. Yeah. Because last year at one of the Des Moines shows, we had a mix-up. And I probably spent like 3 hours trying to make it right. I ended up with a huge headache and I vomited twice after the show.
But that becomes part of the responsibility of the athlete. Just like any other sport. You know the order of events and you listen for the call out. So whether it's, I think of like track and field because that's the seasonal sport we're in right now. You hear overhead when you are called to go check in. You know the order of events. So this is no different. Yeah. So pay attention, listen to your expediters.
And it's always posted
right, always. On the wall. And I think most events or most shows probably follow similar orders.
I think they're pretty well the same.
Yeah.
Especially at our shows, I know that it's the exact same. So figure, women's physique, women's bodybuilding, men's bodybuilding, so on and so forth. It's literally the exact same every single time.
Right. And when I've been to other regional and PC shows, because the pro shows are usually 1 or 2 divisions following an NPC show. Mm-hmm. So you get pretty familiar with the other NPC shows, and I would say nationwide, I think it's pretty much the same order.
Yeah.
Sometimes your pro will go first, though.
Yeah, if it's a pro show, it will always go first.
And then your NPC,
yep.
But you still catch on to what order's going on. A lot of times after a pro show, I would stick around and
if you
watch
have
for
questions,
a bit.
Ask. That's what we're here for. Ask us because we would rather get the problem fixed before the show starts as opposed to mid-show when you're literally about to go on stage, which is what happened last year. I'm not kidding. She got put in bikini, but she was in wellness.
Oh, shoot.
So she literally posed for bikini, but then that night we put her in the right classes and rejudged her for wellness. Because they didn't catch it until right before she went on flipping stage. I'm like, guys, you gotta check the roster before we start the show. That is why it's there.
Yes.
We can fix it before the show starts, but as soon as the show starts, it's going to be even more hard because you're literally about to get on stage as we're trying to fix.
I remember one of the shows, so for the pro shows, they call your name individually and you get to do more of a routine. Yep. You have up to a minute. And so backstage, they will call you back by your name.
T-walk.
And so, you're back there. And I remember it wasn't me, but it was a different lady. The judge called her name to go on stage. Well, these 2 girls were backwards. So here the one is starting to walk out and then it registered like, that's not my name.
Yep.
So she kind of did backed up and then the other girl.
Movie.
And I remember thinking like, gosh, that would have been super stressful. And I don't think the expediter caught it because he was back at the end of the line, still continuing to line people up and just verify. So these 2 girls, they probably had been talking or, you kind of get in a group and talk and then you get back in your line. And I think they just got swapped. And so anyway, remember the place that you're in, especially if it's
as soon as we put you in your spot, don't fucking move.
Don't move. Yeah.
Stay in that spot because if I have to repeat myself 5 million times.
I'd be scared of you.
I try to keep my cool, but sometimes
you do.
The newbies
it's like
are
hurting
perfect.
Kindergartners.
Yes, it really is. But the newbies, they're perfect. Because they don't know any better.
Yes.
As soon as you because they're too nervous.
You're right.
So when we put them in their place, they literally don't move.
Yeah.
They plant their feet, they do their pump up, they don't move. But it's the ones who have been competing for a long time.
They get arrogant.
They'll walk off over here. Yeah. They'll walk off over there. Their coach will take them over here. I'm like, don't fucking move. Yeah. I'm going to punch you.
Yeah. They're pro,
Move. Oh my gosh. Oh. So yeah, please, when we put you in your spot, don't move. And don't ask us if you have time to go to the bathroom because we're going to tell you no.
Yeah, you should have. You should be timing your bathroom so that it's done prior to your glaze.
Yes.
Because once your glaze is done and you're all glued in place, that's it. Like, you don't want to be moving anything. And likely that sensation you're feeling might be nerves. If you just went to the bathroom.
It's the nervous piece.
It's the nerves.
You don't have to go.
You'll be fine.
Yeah. It'll be okay. Headphones. If you have to wear, I prefer you to not wear headphones because we have had so many incidences where the coaches, who are the worst, will say, "Oh, you got plenty of time, so you'll keep your headphones on." And we're sitting here screaming your name. And if you know me and you've heard me backstage, I have a pretty loud voice.
Yeah,
you can't miss me. And if I'm screaming your name and you have your headphones on, and you miss your class, that's on you. We don't want you to miss your class. So if you have to have headphones on, which I love my music too,
I do too,
have one ear open.
Yeah.
One ear. That's all I ask.
That was even tough for me. I got to the point where I would get so paranoid about missing that then I just wouldn't have them in. And then I was like,
a lot of people do.
I'd just rather be present. And the other thing too, some people are really chatty backstage and some aren't. So keep in mind that if you are a chatty person and you are trying to engage in conversation with competitors and they just don't seem like they're into it, I doubt it that they're trying to be a jerk. They're just in the zone, and that's okay. So that's another thing I noticed because I'm typically more of a chatty person. Well, not backstage. I think I was more reserved backstage.
I have severe resting bitch face when I'm prepping and I'm backstage getting ready to get on stage.
And some girls are like they're having a great time and they're
living in the moment. Yes. And then there's some of us who are just miserable as shit and don't want to fucking talk to anybody.
I felt this more at the pro shows. Sometimes I felt like there was already like groups of these girls that were friends.
Cliques.
Yes. And
I can see that.
And so I remember feeling sometimes at shows like, there's these group of girls and they're talking and these are talking and then you had a couple other ones just by themselves. And I remember, feeling sometimes like, gosh, should I be more social? Should I not?
Fuck 'em.
Ashley Kaltwasser, she was one though. I remember being really intimidated by her. But now I know I've heard her on podcasts and, I've talked to her outside of shows when they were over. She was one that if you even tried to talk to her at all behind, at a show, she was very standoffish.
Really?
And then she shared later in podcasts that she's just, that's just not her thing backstage and that she's a little socially awkward and a little introverted. But I think it's something to keep in mind that it's okay if you are introverted. You do not have to be super social at these shows. It doesn't make you a jerk.
No.
It's just do you. And
I'm social as an expediter.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to help the newbies relieve some nervousness.
Oh, someone like you would have been so
I'll
helpful.
pump you up. I'll fuck around with you. But if I'm backstage getting ready to get on stage myself, nope.
It's different when you're
there. Don't talk to me.
All right. Anything else with shows?
Well,
people are asking. Gosh, we've had a lot. I feel like we could go on forever. There's just so much to say.
Part two because it's almost 9:00. I mean, we could probably hit one more.
All right.
Unless if you have to leave.
No, let's hit one more.
Okay. So somebody asked about stage time. So like NPC is gonna be way, 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 way different than pros. So NPC, we're talking like fit model, bikini, figure, fitness, men's physique. Oh gosh, wellness. Yeah, In the morning, you typically have 10 to 15 seconds, depending on the size of the show. Now, a lot of times, if we have a smaller show, we're going to give you a little bit longer of time to do your individual routine because we want you to have your stage time. But St. Louis, you are very limited on your stage time when it comes to your individual routine. Now, your routines, as far as like women's physique, women's bodybuilding, classic men's bodybuilding, you're in the morning, again, depending on the show, you'll have a 30-second routine to house music. Now, finals is going to be a little bit different for those. You're going to have a 1-minute routine to your music of choice. One thing I want to mention is if everybody's got their favorite pro. I'm going to say this again. Pros are different than amateurs. Pros get all the time in the world to do their individual routine. I think Ashley had mentioned that pros get like a minute routine, which it's like a T-walk, a model walk. Amateurs, you don't get that. Stop imitating pros because you're going to go on stage, you're going to be on there for 10 to 15 seconds, and then the head judge is going to say thank you, and you're going to be walked off.
And then it's awkward when you're getting
because if you're in your back, if you're in your back post and they say thank you, you're going to awkwardly like turn and look behind you and like awkwardly wave. 10 to 15 seconds. Do not imitate your favorite pro.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Because you amateurs, you don't get the privilege of being on stage for a minute.
Well, and judges have shared the longer you're on stage is the longer for them to find flaws. And when there's so many, when there's so many competitors, especially in NPC, they are really just looking at your front pose, their back pose. And so if you're dinking around up there and you're up there longer, their way that they score is like the negative. Like you get deducted. At least on the pros. And so the longer you're up there is the more deductions that you have the ability to get. Mm-hmm. You're up there and they're like, oh, shoot, I didn't notice this, but now she's, maybe they didn't notice it the first time you were out.
It's always the creeper walk that they get you on. I call it the creeper walk. So this is where you're doing your back pose and you walk back to the back curtain. Mm-hmm. I call it the creeper walk because we all know what they're looking at. Mm-hmm. They're looking at your ass. Mm-hmm. They're finding out if...
Does it jiggle?
Yep, if it wiggles and jiggles, it's bad.
And some pros, you have to do the walk to the back when you're in your lineup, but some pros will choose not to incorporate a walk to the back in their routine. And that's okay. Yep. Like you can, come out...
individual, you can do whatever you want.
So
that is your thing.
That is showcasing your greatest assets. Mm-hmm. And... you don't have to incorporate that, but you definitely are going to have to regardless when you walk to the back. And even NPC, if you're in that overall, they could have you do it any time, but definitely if you're in that overall between the classes, they will have you walk to the back.
Yes. Yep. There are some things you should and shouldn't do during your individuals, and I'm going to beat this like a dead horse again because I'm sure I've mentioned this 18 million times. Men's physique, NPC, amateurs. I cannot speak on pros. Amateurs. If there are any men's physique guys listening, if I see you throw up a bicep flex, I'm going to backhand you. NPC will dock you if you throw a bicep flex in any transition.
I did not know that. Oh, when they're just trying to show off or get like an
just
extra.
Anything. So even during comparisons or they're individual.
No bicep flex.
No
okay.
Bicep flex. So you know what, like if you're in your front pose
and
you transition to the back and you throw up a bicep flex.
That's weird.
You look dumb. I'm not going to lie. You look stupid.
I've never seen that happen, but I
see it all the time. I have to reiterate it every single show because there is always one. Always one that throws a bicep flex. Or like when they go into their back pose.
Yeah.
And they transition to like the front, they'll first throw up a back double bi, and then transition back to the front.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. I feel like that's bad coaching. I don't want to blame the coach, but I would say a competitor just doesn't think to do that.
Well, and
is it a coach saying, "Hey, get in an extra move"?
Either let that or knowledge, because they're like, I used to compete in NGA. They were allowed to, so even bikini can throw a bicep flex in there. Figure can throw. So
it might be the different federations.
Yes, yeah. I think I'm not going to speak a whole lot about it. Like I only want to speak on NPC, but NPC does not allow bicep flexes for men's physique. Men's physique is front, back, front only.
Well, I think it would be safe to say with any division, you do the mandatory pose that your judge asks for, and that's it. Don't try to add in any extra
flair.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of times, if you want to throw up a bicep flex, the judges are going to tell you to move up to classic. Mm-hmm. But men's physique moving up to classic. Sorry, guys, you got to work your legs then.
Darn.
I'm sorry. I mean, it's either not float or throw up bicep flexes, or you got to actually train your legs. I mean, I would want to train legs anyway because, sorry guys, I don't like the disproportionate look.
I know, and just like flat tushes, no thanks.
You look like a chicken.
Yes.
I mean, seriously, you look like a.
There's so many funny memes that incorporate, like no leg day, and so.
I mean, that's why I'm glad my husband works his legs, because
he does. He does. I would make fun of him.
I would. I seriously would. But yeah, I mean, I think that's all the time we got today,
we hit a lot. And we'll make note of some things that we didn't catch, and I'm sure we can find ways to incorporate that as we talk into.
Hopefully next time we'll have Sadie, and she can even
as the season goes on. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think we have 3, 4, 5, at least 5 other questions that were asked. I mean, like you said, we get to rambling when we start talking about
and we're going to have lots of shows this season, and so as things come up, that will also spark conversation and probably answer these questions. So, all right, well, that's all we got.
For now, anyway.
All right, bye, guys.
Bye.